Hey everybody, welcome to Hammered Out. I'm your host, Mike Bush. You're watching the Market Scale Network. I'm really excited about today's guest. He's been all over Market Scale, actually. He's got one of the coolest approaches in freight, and that he's not doing freight, but he's helping those that do freight. And he's more recently become personal trainer to the stars. He is founder and CEO of Offshift. Dr. Mark Manera, welcome to the show, brother.
Mike, thank you so much for having me. Excited to talk.
So listen, the past few weeks you've been all over the place with LinkedIn, and what I call that kind of a trainer to the stars. You're working with Dooner over at What the Truck. What's going on, man? I think we just wrapped up. I think you got all 50 states, if I'm not mistaken.
We're getting there. We're getting there. You know, there's some states like Hawaii and Alaska that are a little bit tougher, easier said than done. But I think we're going to find some people and we're going to check them off. But yeah, you know, a few months ago, Dooner and I have been friends for a couple of years. And, you know, a few months ago, Dooner's dad actually had a heart attack. Thank goodness he recovered. He's healthy. He's safe. But it really was one of those moments where it was kind of life flashed in front of Dooner. And he was like, I don't want to be there in 30, 40 years. I want to be there with my kids. I want to enjoy my life. And I see a lot of people in the trucking industry on the brokers, freight side of things, and also, you know, behind the wheel and drivers who are going down a similar path, right? And it's not too late. And he wanted to use his platform and just our relationship that we've built to say, let's make health a priority, a top of the conversation in freight, and let's have fun with it as well, because you don't have to not have fun. And so we started a challenge called Truckers Squad Across the Country Challenge. The goal is to get a video of someone in the industry, driver, broker, executive at a company, it doesn't matter, doing 10 air squats in all 50 states. And so we're chugging along. We're getting a lot of people posting and you know, really building the community and conversation around health in the industry, which to me is always a win.
Sure, absolutely, man. Now, this isn't like a new thing for you. I know I kind of glossed over this in the intro. You've been doing the "Let's Make Truckers Healthy" thing for quite a long time.
I got into this about 4 years ago, which is crazy to think about because it's flown by. But my background is not in the supply chain trucking world at all. 4 years ago, I didn't know a single person in the industry. I have a doctorate degree in physical therapy. I was working in a PT clinic here in St. Louis, and in walked in a bunch of truck drivers. And it was just my first time getting to know some drivers on a personal level. And also first time seeing what 20, 30 years behind the wheel can do to someone's health. And it just threw me down this rabbit hole. Spent 3 years on the corporate health side of things, working with dozens of trucking companies, a bunch of insurance companies, just, you know, getting to know the industry. I always say, like, I got an MBA in trucking over the last couple of years because I didn't know anything going into it, right? And was really lucky about some of the friends I've made and also opportunities I've had to really pull the curtain back at honestly every single level of the in the industry, at the insurance level, you know, at the company level, seeing how that operates, and also, you know, getting in the truck with a driver and having a conversation and driving down the highway with them, and really recognizing the impact that employee health can have on the whole industry, not only from a quality of life and the fact that, you know, we've got 3.5 million truck drivers who are, you know, keeping America running, who on average have a life expectancy 16 years less than the average American just because of their career. And like, I think about the healthcare side of things, and I don't think anyone's career should define their health, but it's exactly what's happening for these drivers. And really what I was recognizing was that there was no one truly coming in and meeting the people of the supply chain in the industrial sector where they're at and building a health solution that fit their lifestyle, fit the culture, and speaks the language. All of the solutions out there are, you know, industry agnostic, which means, you know, they're built for someone who works in a cubicle and handed to an industrial worker as an afterthought. And it's just fallen flat time after time. And really, I just truly believe that if we're going to make an impact on some of these statistics and also reduce risk and costs that are associated with employees' health, especially in this industry when it comes to healthcare costs, work comp claims, and turnover as well, we have to take an industry specific approach. And that's what we're doing at Offshift.
There's so many things to I want to unpack here, right? So, so let me start with your business model. And do I have it right? You essentially approach trucking companies and say, "I'd like the opportunity to work with your drivers to to craft plans and approaches that are going to make them be healthier, both in terms of food and fitness. Is that fair?
Yeah, so really quick over. So we're an employee benefit to a trucking company. We work with the whole enterprise, right? So it's not just drivers, it's warehouse staff, it's maintenance workers, it's even people in the office. Like we've got some brokers with a company that, has a brokerage side of things as well. Right. And then what we do is we pair each employee with a concierge health coach. And the focus is how do we build a relationship with these people? So many people just don't have that person in their corner who's helping them in the health side of life, right? And then through our app on the phone, we create a custom health plan for each member that's focused on preventative care. So getting ahead of musculoskeletal injuries to cut down work comp claims, improving medication adherence, which is a huge issue when it comes to ER visits and hospitalizations. And then, like you said earlier, lifestyle changes, nutritional habits, physical activity.
Got it. Okay. So, I get my concierge, I get my coach, if you will, and then we start to walk through. Here are the medicines I'm on. Here's when I'm supposed to take them. Presumably, the app has reminders of hey, Mark, don't forget this. Um, what have been sort of the early results you've seen? First off, on the personal level, like what have you
Yeah.
heard from the community about your approach?
Life changing in the way of there's so many drivers out there, and I'll speak specifically to drivers just because that's a lot of our focus right now, where they have just given up on their health. And I've literally heard drivers say, like, this wasn't built for me, and I don't know how to fit it into my lifestyle. And what we're recognizing is that we can come in and really be the most engaged health benefit that a trucking company offers because we know how to speak their language and fit into their lifestyle. And it's actually doable and it's actually actionable, right? There's so much health out there. Like you scroll on TikTok and all of a sudden, like there's 5 diets you're supposed to be doing. And then everything just feels so 30-foot view and it doesn't feel realistic to fit into your lifestyle. And so for us, it's how do we break that down into really small bite-sized pieces, make it time efficient because that's the biggest barrier that most people in this industry have, and just personalize it in a way that it's not flipping your whole lifestyle upside down, but it's finding these pockets of time throughout your day-to-day life where you can fit healthier behaviors into it. And for most people who aren't trying to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? I've only had one person in the 4 years when I say you really want to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, you just try to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. Most people want to lose 10, 15 pounds, maybe 25, 30.
Sure.
They want to have more energy and they want to enjoy their family, or they want to, maybe, look in the mirror and have a little bit more confidence in the way they look, right? And oftentimes, and I say this all the time, is that we continually surprise people at the impact that small changes done on a consistent basis can have. And it's not you gotta flip your whole lifestyle upside down, like I said, and go as hard as you can, for 30 days, and then you fall back to square one. It's how do we build these habits so you can do this for the rest of your life and like make these actual lifestyle changes.
Sure. Are there like 2 or 3 things that are really common? And we'll stick to the driver community, but
Yeah.
when you start working with a driver, are there 2 or 3 things that you could basically roll out as a playbook? Okay, here are the 3 things we want to do. Maybe it's we want to if you're eating at truck stops, we get that. We want to go Quest bar versus candy bar, or go to the sugar-free Red Bull or Monster versus not. What are the sort of the low-hanging fruit to get
Yeah.
started?
I need to get you on payroll, Mike. You nailed it, right? It's like eating more protein, right? So it's like grabbing the protein bar instead of Snickers bar. It's finding ways that we can add protein. I mean, so many people are not eating protein, on a consistent basis. And when you talk about, an aging demographic where that's one of the key things on a quality of life of, the grandma who can't get off of the toilet, it's because they don't have the muscular strength. And that comes from exercising and eating protein, right? The second thing is, drinking sugar. Oh my gosh. One of the first drivers that I talked to 4 years ago when I was driving told me he drinks 12 packs of Pepsi a day. 24 Pepsis. Can you believe that, right? So obviously that's an extreme, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people are just, going into the Loves, going into the Pilot and getting the extra large soda and just filling it up and not recognizing it's hundreds of calories, potentially thousands of calories they're consuming every single day, and that many grams of sugar as well. And it's really difficult, when you have a population that has 70% of people who are obese, to lose weight when, quote unquote, all these empty calories they're consuming, right? And then the few other areas is we touched on the medication adherence. So many people are not taking their medication. And when you talk about someone who's diabetic, who has heart disease, who's not taking their medication as their doctor prescribed, it is the number one highest leverage, quickest thing that someone can do just to feel better on a day-to-day basis. And it just pop the pill in and go, right? And then the other thing that we really focus on, and we integrate with each company's current insurance plan and other health benefits, is helping them find a primary care doctor and going to get an annual physical and blood work. 50% of drivers don't have one. It's a huge issue. To me, it's like the baseline of, let's just get in a routine of taking the healthcare system to your advantage. And that's another area we focus on.
Sure. Now, we talked a little bit about, the life changes for drivers, but you've also touched on the ROI for companies, which, I think that's a really undersold story as to what you're doing, or what I really hadn't considered much is, if look, I work for Talent Logistics. We've got 150 trucks and double that number of drivers. So, what at Talon, what should I be thinking of for the ROI component? I know you touched on insurance a little bit, but what else?
Yeah, I mean, there's three big areas. It's healthcare costs, especially if a company's self-insured or level funded, where they have, or in a captive group where they have some skin in the game, right? And, most of these transportation companies, when you get over 200 employees, 250 employees, you're starting to think about, how do I mitigate the risk and cut down and become self-insured. The other area is work comp, right? The amount of musculoskeletal issues that are caused because of baseline health is crazy. And the average cost of a work comp claim in the United States is $41,000. That's, with the cost of medical bills and also, paying for time off and all these other areas. And so if we can come in and, a third of all musculoskeletal conditions can be prevented if people are physically active. So we come in and we've got we've got joint specific mobility programs, and we've got other programs that help reduce the likelihood of, most people over the age of 35 wake up with some type of ache or pain. And so let's do everything we can to reduce the likelihood of that turning into something much bigger and much more expensive for the company. And then the final area is on turnover, right? From a driver perspective, DOT physicals are a huge area. There's more and more drivers getting temporary cards and more drivers failing their DOT physical. But even past that, let's even talk about voluntary turnover, where it's not them being forced to turn over. There's so many drivers that voluntarily turn over because of health issues, and then also because of lack of engagement at the company, right? Most people are not engaged with company initiatives or benefits as a whole. And so if we can provide a industry specific solution that gets them engaged, gets them part of the culture, the chances of them leaving are much less. And we're seeing that every single day with our customers.
Sure, that's amazing, man. Mark, if people want to get in touch with you or find you, what's the best way to do so?
Yeah, so offshift.ai is our website. Offshift on all social medias, or you can find me on LinkedIn at Dr. Mark Manera.
And before I let you go, the final question I ask everybody. Listen, if you're talking to a younger version of yourself, or you're talking to maybe a soon-to-be college grad, and you're unique in this question because you're not really a supply chain guy, but you're powering the supply chain.
Yeah.
And so, some kid says, listen, I'm thinking about supply chain. What's the piece of advice you would give them?
Lead with passion, think outside the box. And if you do both of those things, people are really interested in you.
Dr. Mark Manera, CEO and founder of Offshift, personal trainer to Dooner, and a guy who's plugged a couple of talent videos because we were all silly with you. Appreciate you being on the show, my man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.